there is a guy, and I talked with him tonight, Larry Overman, who is he's the owner now of this mine, right? And he went into this town called Sumpter in Oregon that burnt down. Okay, this town has a very, very, very scary history behind it. It's kind of like the Silent Hill story. Whole town burns down, superstitious stuff, scary stuff. So this guy, he has his gold mine. He gets it, and he says, guess what? We're going to go in, and we're going to investigate this mine. We have Larry Overman and Patrick Doyle on the program tonight. So glad to have you guys here. Welcome to Ground Zero.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
And so we've been getting the audience involved, talking about their experiences. You, Larry, I mean, you're a very courageous man, very ambitious man. You're looking for your gold there in Sumpter. Tell us a little bit about, first of all, why you decided to go after this mine, and even though it had a reputation.
When I first bought this mine, I didn't know about the reputation, so I got to start there. I had no idea what I was actually getting into. It was the lure of the gold and the thought of making it rich. And when I started researching the property, I asked the person that had it up for sale, said, can we get up there and take a look at it? He's like, well, yeah, it's under 18 feet of snow right now, so that's not going to happen. So
right.
I went on a gut instinct and just bought it anyway, sight unseen.
Mm-hmm.
My first crew tramped out real quick. They quit, just told me we were stuck with it and trying to figure out what to do next. So when we hired the new crew to come up, I was like, how do I keep these guys comfortable, keep them at peace? So I researched and looked all over the place and found Patrick and Kristen and said, hey, guys, I need some help. Can you come on out and take a look?
So, Patrick, you knew about what exactly was happening here. You knew of the area. You knew of the superstition. What is the history of Sumpter? What happened in Sumpter, Oregon?
During the gold rush, it was almost considered to be Oregon's capital city.
Right.
There was so much gold coming out of that place. But in 1917, there was a mysterious fire that burned the entire town down, down to nothing. And currently, there's only like maybe 10 buildings standing. What really drew Kristen and I to this investigation was when Larry told us that his old crew tramped out, and that this was an 80-year-old mine. It's never been. This is the first time it's been opened. So that kind of like got us to questioning if it scares these big burly miners out. What's going on up there?
Did you see anything yourself prior to the tramping out, or did you have you experienced anything prior to that maybe gave you an indication that this is something that you wanted to get and investigate further?
We've always heard, since I'd been up there, we'd heard voices. The closest thing that I'd ever experienced was just like it's ice cold, and then in a moment's notice, it's hot. I mean, like men working around you, hot. But then you take one step back and it's 50 degrees. So
you're seeing the cold spots, the heated spots. You hear voices.
Yeah.
Are they voices of men, voices of children, voices of women? What do you got?
The voices that we have heard were of men, and there's been several times where my wife and myself were back in there, looking for the next spot and working with some of the guys trying to figure out where we're going to go next. And you'll hear people talking, and you're like, okay, who's here now? And you walk all the way outside a half a mile, and there's nobody there.
We couldn't step on the property. We couldn't step on Larry's property without having this training because he'd get in trouble for that, and we didn't want that to happen. And, you said that people have been in ghost mines, and they've been in mines before, but never at this depth and at this height and at this level. I don't think it's ever been in a gold mine, a working gold mine has ever been investigated. Sure, people have stepped inside and seen shadows and stuff like that, but we wanted this to be a true investigation, a legal investigation, and actually make sure this mine was safe for the miners going in there, because it's odd that the past crew just tramped out. That doesn't make any sense to us. So
it was 80 men, right? How many men tramped out on you?
We had 8 guys up there, and a couple of them were very close friends of mine. Casey, great guy, and Brian were, great guys. Casey is an ex-Marine. I think he's about 6'4", close to 300 pounds. I mean, he's a big, burly, just a massive man. And for him to basically tell me to take the mine and stick it somewhere. He's out of there.
Up your shaft.
Exactly. So it's like, yeah.
When we're facing these miners, it's not like your typical investigation. We were welcomed by Larry, but we weren't welcomed by the miners. We were basically in their way, and I'm sure Larry will agree with that. But so when we're presenting evidence to these miners, it was with a lot of doubt. There was some cursing. It was like, let's just get back to the gold and stay out of our way, please.
Mm-hmm.
And please wasn't really thrown in there. It was more of a curse word.
Mm-hmm.
But
so you did have swearing ghosts.
No, this was swearing.
Swearing
live
miners.
Live miners.
Well, I mean, did you get EVP of some of the ghosts that were there?
I guess. Oh, yes. And people watching the episode now, it's like you'll hear some really interesting noises that we captured in the mine.
Uh-huh.
So.
Okay. And so, now I want to also, and I brought this up with Larry and everybody else, but I want to know, Kristen, your assistant.
Yes.
Well, the superstition behind a woman at a mine is back in the day, women only came to the mines to identify bodies. So when you add a redhead to that mix, the redhead was a sign of, the evil, demonic, and I don't even remember which.
The Cornish people.
The Cornish people. So it was evil and demonic. So to have that redheaded woman, so now you have an evil, demonic, somebody trying to identify a body coming up there, was just a bad mix for the guys. And as everybody's going to see or has seen in the first episode, a very good miner decided he wasn't going to be there.
So he backed off.
He tramped out and was a major asset, and it was a major blow to the crew.
So these superstitions don't die, do they? They die hard.
Not at all. It's like these old timers. They tell us that, oh, I'm not superstitious, but I guess I am, because the guy who tramped out, he listened to the Tommyknockers, and he blamed it on Kristen, I believe.
Wow. Yeah, because I think a lot of people, when you mention Tommyknockers is the first thing they think of. But, yeah, I mean, it does have a rich history for the miners. And, I mean, there are a lot of other things that miners... Do you guys still do the canaries thing where the canaries die before you get in there? Or is that something that's a superstition and not real?
Well, no, they don't really need to do that anymore, especially with our crew. We have Jamal, and we figured he has the smallest lungs, so we were going to lead him in first.
Okay.
But in all reality, we have electronic devices that measure air quality, and we did use those.
Okay. We've got Jay Verberg and Jamal Eli, who's with us. We heard how it all began. Now we hear it firsthand from the guys who joined up, got involved, and now they're the ones that we're going to hear the real stories, the real scary stuff. Yeah, Jamal's got a lot of them, I'm sure. I mean, it's true. I mean, they always put him in front.
Yeah, you kind of have to. Being a little guy, they got to stick him up front.
Larry was saying it's because he has small lungs, and that if he was to pass out and die, then they'd know not to go in the mine.
But, yeah, he's got a big heart, though.
Was he telling this canary story?
Well, he was saying you're the canary. You were the guy that they were going to send forward.
God.
I mean, you're like the meat shield. That's what Wes Bigfoot over here says, that he calls himself. Whenever they send him in, they call him the meat shield because he's so big.
I like it.
Yeah,
that works for me.
So can we put that on the credits?
Absolutely.
When Ghost Mine runs, they say Jamal Meat Shield,
the little meat shield.
They in mining you have to earn your nickname, and I think that's a good one.
No, that is not a good one. Stan will be the judge of that.
Okay.
So what? Who throws out the nickname? Do you have a nickname, Joel? Do you have a nickname?
Well, I kind of gave myself a nickname, which was kind of. I don't know if that made it on the show.
You never give yourself.
No, that's exactly
you
it.
never give yourself a nickname.
You can't give yourself a
No,
nickname.
you don't.
Well,
That's not cool. It's
I know. That's what
I'm
they
going to call
said.
myself this, and I was like going, why would you do that? We call you your nickname. We dub thee Meat Shield.
W meat shield.
We hand the torch from Bigfoot over here to you, Jamal, and we call you the Meat Shield of Ghost Mine.
Well, I just named myself Jammer because that's what my grandpa always
I
called
like
me.
Jammer too. Isn't that good?
Yeah, no.
Jamal,
no,
Jam-
Meat Shield is better.
Meat Shield. And you know what's going to happen, Jamal? Meat Shield will be a spin-off series on the SyFy channel. I think. Don't you think?
Meat shield.
Have like those black women in the bell bottoms going, Meat Shield.
Oh,
my
yeah.
gosh. The 70s.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, we're kicking this off in a fun way, but these guys are great guys, and I had a chance to talk with them earlier. It's, of course, Jay Verberg, computer programmer. You're away from your family to go do this mine thing. What's up with you?
I have no idea. You know what? I've always had a big passion for ghost towns and the old history of the Old West, because you know what? Someday these towns aren't even going to be around. You go visit some of these places, and they're dilapidated, they're falling apart. There's almost no remains. So, the wife and kids, we'd travel around Oregon, Idaho, California, and investigate these old ghost towns. So I've always had a big passion for that.
Mm-hmm.
And when the opportunity came up, I was introduced to Larry, and they said, he's looking for a greenhorn. And being 40 years old and trying to figure out what I'm going to do when I grow up, I said, hey, you know what? I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be interested. So I got to live out a little bit of, I got to start over, so to speak, and show my kids that it's never too late to start over. And then I also got to follow a little bit of my passion by doing that.
Right. And so, Jamal, you get thrown into this situation. What's your background? What was it that you did before you had to do this mine stuff?
Well, I mean, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for having me, because I am a fan of yours.
Thank you.
My buddy James Stark got me into this, and, he watched you from high school, and I just got to say thank you for having us.
Oh, sure. Thank him.
From high school, man.
So
I didn't realize you were that old.
I've been around 17 years. I started on a rock station in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I came here, and in fact, John, the guy who was your sponsor, John Holmes, was my boss at one time.
Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah, so there you go. So he was my boss. So
world. That's
it is a small world. We have all these connections, and I'm like going, it was like old home. I was like, hey, everybody. So your background, I mean, I know, what was it that you did before you became this greenhorn miner?
Well, I met the mine owner, Larry, through a mutual friend, and I can pretty much fix anything. I can give me a wad of gum and a paper clip, and I'll fix something for you.
So you're not only Meat Shield, but you're MacGyver Meat Shield.
That's
MacGyver
funny.
Meat Shield.
That's what a lot of the guys
And he's
call
also
me,
cookie.
You are the cook, too.
I am a cook.
Where did you get the cook background?
Well, I cooked right out of high school, prepping, around the Portland area, and just cooked, and I mean, probably about 11 years of cooking experience.
What's your best dish?
I would have to say chicken parmesan.
It's not pancakes.
No, yeah.
What, he makes bad pancakes?
Oh,
That was kind of the running joke around.
Really fluffy.
Yeah.
Fluffy pancakes. So you do chicken. He did chicken parmesan for you guys?
No, not even. In fact, one night he barbecued me an entire half chicken with leg, wing, neck, and everything.
And feathers.
Pretty much.
That's how it came in the package. I swear I didn't do that on purpose. It was the funniest thing ever.
So do you have to pack all that stuff into the mine? I mean, if you're the cook, you have to pack that stuff, don't you? You were saying that you had to pack hose, you had to pack all this other stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and the trek up to the mine, first of all, I mean, the first time I went up there, it was unbelievable, because it's such a treacherous road, and it's a job getting there in itself. But, I mean, when you have to pack all this stuff and bring all the equipment, and it's something to be, not taken lightly.
Yeah, you got to bring your water, and everything's brought up.
So everything has to be planned.
Yeah.
And you have to use a lot of discipline, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because you can't eat too much, drink too much. You got to be able to plan this, because if you run out, that's it.
I think we were bathing in muddy muck mine runoff every night.
And I want it to be known all across the nation that Jay would boil his water before he took a shower.
That's right. Safety first.
Sure. Because I was about to ask you about that. I mean, how does one, and I didn't ask this before, and I think this is a whole new world we're opening up.
Yeah.
How does one prepare themselves for what might be in the mine? Because you've heard these horror stories about how, miners pick up on these diseases that may be buried inside the earth. And, how does one protect themselves, especially when it comes to eating? I mean, you guys get sick up there when you were doing the mine stuff? Or
No, with everything we brought up. And, we kind of prepped for everything that we could possibly think of. But we did our best to keep as clean as we could, and just take care of ourselves.
Yeah, I think that was actually the healthiest I've ever been in my life.
Oh,
really?
yeah. Well, the altitude, we were almost at 8,000 feet.
Yeah.
So just walking around, I was losing weight.
Yeah.
Which kind of stinks, because I'm trying to work up to wrestling weight.
Oh, you're telling me that got my butt up there packing stuff around, I'd lose a lot of weight.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I got to put me on a diet. I go work in the mine. That's what I need to do. You guys are the guys that stuck around. You guys are the guys that stuck with Larry and are behind Larry 100%. You guys are good guys. And this TV show and all this stuff. Number of things to ask you. One, I know that you were into the ghost town stuff,
Yes, that's correct.
studying it and everything else. Now, were you like into the ghost thing? Did you know anything about ghosts? I mean, what was the whole thing with you and the ghosts?
I mean, I wasn't into the ghosts or the paranormal aspect of it at all. I was actually drawn to it for providing for my family and being able to. Yeah, money as well. Absolutely.
Ka-ching!
Absolutely. Gold. There's gold in them hills. But yeah, I mean, I had a couple things that were paranormal happen to me. I had a spirit that kept sitting on my chest.
This is all prior to the show, though. Right?
Oh yeah, this doesn't have anything to do with the show.
Another succubus story.
It was a succubus that would not let me up, and I mean, my eyes were open, and I could almost sit up. I could look around, and it happened, quite frequently throughout this 1 month of my life, and until the day I think I grabbed the bull by the horns, and I just said, when you leave me alone, or when I die, I'm gonna come back and find you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna find you wherever you are, because on Earth here and in our mortal shells, Jay's ginormous, and I'm kind of small stature, and I mean in a battle, David and Goliath maybe if I could hit him with a rock, but obviously he's gonna smash me.
I like the whole vengeful attitude as a ghost that you would have. If you die, you will have this vengeful. I mean, I was talking earlier about character judgments of ghosts, and so you would be a vengeful ghost.
Well, he was frightened. Whatever this entity was
Right.
frightening me, and I knew it was not good.
Right.
And it made me extremely upset, and it really happened. So I figured, in the afterlife, probably we're pretty much a level playing field.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to try to combat Sylvester Stallone.
Well, I know that what I want to do when I die is, if my spirit carries on, if I go to a place like heaven or hell or wherever I go, whoever the person in charge would be, Satan or God, I'm going to go up and I'm going to say, hey, I want Ouija board duty.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't that be the greatest thing? I mean, you show up at like parties and these teenagers are playing with the Ouija board and you scare the holy hell out of them.
And you find the one kid who's on the verge of wetting himself.
Oh, yeah. And you just keep going and keep poking. That's what I want to do.
Oh, no.
Wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't Ouija board duty be the coolest job?
In the afterlife, let's hook up, dude.
I think we should.
I don't
All
know.
of us will plot. and they'll be going along the Ouija board and go, tell me my future. And it'll spell out MEATSUIT.
Oh, no.
Meat suits on the Ouija board.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what's going on. So, okay, so you had this experience when you were a kid. But did they tell you beforehand that you were going to be working in a mine that was haunted? I mean, they didn't say that?
No.
Absolutely.
We went up
So-
there specifically to find gold, to provide for our families, and hopefully hit it big.
Right.
That's what we wanted. That was our incentive.
Right. And so how did anyone figure out that this was going to be a huge, cool topic for the SyFy channel?
I have no idea how that came about, because when we went up there, I heard tell that the last crew completely took off for reasons unknown, and I'm like, well,
So they didn't really tell you why they took off.
no. I thought, well, they just couldn't handle it. It was too cold, or they're wieners or something.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that turned out not to be the case at all.
Right. And so it was something a lot more frightening. And Larry didn't even know that the mine was haunted. He just wanted the gold, and that's what happened. And then
Yeah, and then
what was the
eventually,
What was the first real indication for you that was haunted?
Again, I don't want to give anything away from the episodes, but
So this goes right from the beginning.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
And so-
it really did start right from the beginning.
So this is raw.
Yeah.
Really raw. I didn't realize that, because most people, they would say, well, I can talk about my experience, but this is really raw, uncut. They're just like, this is your experience right here, and it's being seen by millions of people all over the country.
And there's a lot to be said for your the powers of your mind and what that does to you when you're back in a dark hole. But your mind starts to get away from you. But when you can't shut that off or find a solution to what's going on, that's when it starts to really bother you.
And the thing that bothers me, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, cramped quarters. My God, think about it. You guys are just down. How far down do you go? How far deep are we getting here?
Gosh.
Any idea?
At least 2 miles.
2 miles.
No, it wasn't that deep.
About a mile and a half.
All I know is
Mile and a
when
quarter.
you're back there, 15, 20 minutes of walking to get back there. Now, Jamal, he had a little bit more room to float through.
I moved through there like magic. I mean, I didn't have to worry about my head.
I'm ducking and hitting my head on every rock that I pass.
Right, because you're tall.
Yeah, and so you're 15, 20 minutes back in this mine, and you start hearing things. Now, and you do hear a lot of things just working there. You hear the water, you hear the mud, but when you start hearing things that don't sound like mud and water, you quickly realize, oh gosh, I've got 15, 20 minutes of walking back in complete darkness, and a little bit of panic kind of sets in.
I can imagine. Yeah, because, I mean, that's the thing is you can't, like I said, I went into a tunnel investigation. I went with Northwest Coast Recon, Roger Cluton. We were down underground in this tunnel, and I thought, oh, this is cool, going through the tunnel. It wasn't going deep like in a mine like you guys did, because I mean, that's even more scary. This was just a tunnel underground, but it did get smaller because for some reason, I guess the workers that were in there, because it was mostly pipe and electricity and all that stuff, and it was for an abandoned mental hospital.
Yeah.
Going underneath, and you're like thinking to yourself, oh, this is cool, and you have to duck, and you have to crawl under these things that are like obstacles. But then all of a sudden you hear something weird, and you're like going, I can't run back.
No.
I have to stay here and let this scare me. And you really can't, because you realize, my God, did I really walk that far? And have I really been in this underground thing for 10, 20 minutes?
Right.
And you just can't go back. And you have to just kind of like stand there and wait for it to stop. And even then, you want to run, but you got cramped quarters. I mean, for me, this is a little place. I'm a wide guy, because I'm big. And I was like, my shoulder was just brushing up against the wires and brushing up against the wall, and I had to crawl down. And it wasn't until we got to this big open boiler room area where we were able to actually feel like we had room to breathe and otherwise, we had to go back, and it was back again, and climbing up ladders and all kinds of other stuff. And it's like, first of all, that's stressful. Yeah. Second of all, you've got the stress of knowing that behind you is a long way back. And then the stress of having whatever it is in front of you, it's just not.
Oh, yeah. And I'd say 90% of the time I hit my head, it was me leaving the mine. I was moving a little bit quicker.
That is funny.
And I was talking about the Cartoon Network, Meat Shield and J-Hole. It's kind of like SpongeBob SquarePants. You even have your own Patrick.
Yeah, Patrick.
Oh. I love purple.
What you doing?
I love purple.
That's fantastic. Patrick Doyle's with us, also Jamal, J-Hole, and Meat Shield.
You got a whole strip.
It's the J-Hole.
It's the J-Hole and Meat Shield show. Well, Jay, Jamal, Patrick, thank you so much for being on the program tonight.
Thank you.
It was such a pleasure.
Awesome.
And I know here on the West Coast, we're going to be seeing it on the SyFy channel because it premieres on the West Coast in about 10 minutes,
That's
5
correct.
minutes.
Very
So,
nice.
so we'll be seeing
Shout
you
out
guys.
to all our other miners that can't be with us right now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, thank you to all of them who taught us well.
And looking forward to J-Hole and Meat Shield with their sidekick Patrick coming with a spinoff. Meat Shield.
Oh, yeah.
Meat Shield.
Theme song already, aren't you?
He's already signing the contracts, and you're involved, and you're involved, and we're all involved.
Glad I came back
Anyway,
in.
thank you so much for being on the program. We'll be back with more. Keep it here on Ground Zero.
Oh my God, they're all gonna call me Meat Suit.
Meat Suit, dude.
Clyde Lewis, dubbed me Meat Suit, and the entire world is gonna call me Meat Suit.
It's that time of year again, and we all have so much.
You gotta let me know if it keeps that.
Yeah, we will.
Oh my God.
We always have Stephen, so...
You can do all those things, but how
That's
about
funny.
Should have kept my mouth shut.
Oh, it's funny.
So,